Right now, your face is doing something you have no idea about. Not a twitch, not a blink. Something far more specific. A flicker of emotion so fast it lasts less than a fifth of a second, and then it's gone, like it never happened. You didn't choose it. You didn't feel it. But someone watching you closely enough would have seen exactly what you were feeling in that moment, even if you were smiling, even if you were perfectly still. Your face is not yours in the way you think it is. You assume you control it. You assume the expression you wear is the one you've decided to wear. But underneath that surface, something older is running. Something that has been running since long before language, long before thought, long before you had a name for any feeling at all. And the strangest part? It's still doing its job right now in a world it was never built for. In the 1960s, a psychologist named Paul Ekman traveled to a remote region of Papua New Guinea. He wasn't looking for anything most scientists cared about. He wanted to answer a question that had been quietly dividing researchers for decades. Are human emotions universal? Does a face look the same way when it's afraid? Whether it belongs to someone in New York City or someone who has never seen a photograph, never watched a movie, never met a person from the outside world? What he found changed the field permanently. The four people of Papua New Guinea, completely isolated from Western culture, made the same faces as everyone else. Fear looked like fear. Disgust looked like disgust. Surprise looked like surprise. Across every culture Ekman tested, 6 core emotional expressions showed up with near-perfect consistency. The same brow raise, the same lip curl, the same narrowing of the eyes. These weren't learned. They were inherited. Your face, it turns out, is running on software that is millions of years old. But here is where it gets strange. Ekman kept studying faces. He developed a system called the Facial Action Coding System, FACS, which maps every movement the human face can make down to individual muscle contractions. There are 43 muscles in your face. Most animals have far fewer, and you can't voluntarily control all of them. Some of them move only when the emotion is real. They give you away. Every time. There is a muscle around your eyes called the orbicularis oculi. When you smile because something is genuinely funny, it contracts slightly, wrinkling the outer corners of your eyes, pulling your cheeks upward. When you fake a smile, when you smile because someone is watching and it's expected, that muscle stays still. The mouth curves, but the eyes don't change. Ekman named this the Duchenne Marker, after the French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne, who first mapped it in the 1800s by running electrical currents through people's faces to force individual muscles to contract. You have almost certainly used a fake smile today, and someone, without knowing why, without being able to explain what they noticed, felt it. This is where the science gets genuinely unsettling, because your face is not just broadcasting your emotions outward, it is feeding them back inward. There is a theory in psychology called the facial feedback hypothesis. The basic idea is this: the expressions on your face don't just reflect what you feel, they actually change what you feel. In 1988, a researcher named Fritz Strack ran an experiment that became one of the most cited studies in social psychology. He had participants hold a pen in their mouth in 2 different ways. One group held it with their teeth only, forcing their face into something close to a smile. The other group held it with just their lips, forcing a slight pout. Then both groups watched cartoons and rated how funny they were. The group holding the pen with their teeth, the accidental smilers, consistently rated the cartoons as funnier. Your face was shaping your experience, not the other way around. The study was later challenged, replicated, and debated fiercely, but the core finding held up in enough variants to keep researchers paying attention. The relationship between your expression and your emotion is not a one-way road. It runs in both directions. When you hold tension in your jaw, your nervous system notices. When you furrow your brow for hours at a screen, your brain gets a quiet signal that something is wrong. When you physically arrange your face into an expression of calm, something downstream shifts. Your ancestors knew this in a way, without knowing the science. Consider what happens at a funeral, or a ceremony, or a moment of collective grief across dozens of different cultures. The face is always involved. The rules about what the face should do are almost always strict. Uncontrolled crying is permitted in some places and forbidden in others. Laughing is sacred in some grief rituals and deeply elaborate rules around the face because every culture discovered, through thousands of years of living together, that the face is not just personal, it is social infrastructure. This is the part your brain is managing constantly underneath awareness. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego, led by Marian Bartlett, used automated facial coding to analyze thousands of hours of footage of people in pain, real pain, not acted pain, and they compared those faces to people who were asked to fake pain. What they found was striking. Real pain and faked pain produce genuinely different facial patterns. The real ones are less symmetrical. The faked ones are more exaggerated, more performed, more theatrical. Your face, when it's telling the truth, doesn't perform. It just reacts. And here is the thing about that reaction. It happens before you are conscious of it. Neuroscientists using high-speed cameras have documented micro-expressions, those sub-second flickers Ekman first identified, occurring at speeds your conscious mind cannot track. You see something disturbing. Your face registers it. Then, a fraction of a second later, your conscious brain catches up and decides what to do with that feeling. The expression is already there, already gone, already seen by anyone looking. You are always slightly behind your own face. Think about what that means in terms of what you reveal. Every difficult conversation you've ever had, every moment you tried to appear neutral, every time you kept your voice steady and your words careful, somewhere in that exchange your face was telling a different story. Not a lie exactly. The truth your body knew before your mind decided what to do with it. There is a concept in Japanese culture called Tatemae and Honne. Tatemae is the face you present publicly, the social mask, the managed expression. Honne is your true feeling, kept private. The gap between them is not considered dishonest. It is considered mature, socially skilled, a form of care for the people around you. And yet, even in cultures with very strong norms around facial control, micro-expressions leak through. Ekman and his colleagues found them in footage of Japanese participants who had been told to suppress their reactions. The suppression worked, mostly. But in the moments just before suppression kicked in, the face told the truth. You can slow your face down. You cannot stop it entirely. What does this mean for you, living in the world you live in now? You are making hundreds of micro-judgments about other people's faces every day. In meetings, on video calls, in conversations at a doorway. You cannot read every signal consciously, but something in you is processing them. There is research from Princeton University by Alexander Todorov showing that people form impressions of trustworthiness from a face in as little as 1/10 of a second, before a word is spoken, before a handshake, before any conscious evaluation begins. Something ancient in you has already decided. And the same process is happening in reverse. Every face that looks at yours is running its own ancient software, reading signals you aren't aware you're sending. This is not a reason to be paranoid. It is a reason to be curious. Because what it means is that your emotional life is not as hidden as you think. The feelings you carry but don't name, the quiet unease, the flicker of irritation, the split-second sadness at something nobody would call sad, they surface. Briefly, constantly. They are part of what you communicate to the world, whether you intend to or not. And the people who know you well are reading them, even if they couldn't explain how. The ancient circuitry in your face was built for a world where you lived in small groups, where every face around you mattered, where trust and threat had to be assessed in a heartbeat or the consequences could be fatal. That world is gone, but the system is still running. Right now, somewhere on your face, in some microscopic configuration of 43 muscles, the truth of how you feel is sitting just below the surface, waiting for someone to look closely enough to see it. You thought you had a poker face. You never did.